Carl Tepper sitting in for Chad Hasty on a beautiful morning here in the South Plains. I know a lot of you are getting ready to head out of town for the Thanksgiving break. Go ahead and put KFYO 790 into your radio. Just keep it there. We will keep you entertained for the next hour and a half. And then, of course, you got Rush. We're to lead into Rush, which is quite a great honor. I have the distinct honor of knowing some people in New York City. Of course, I grew up there. Strangely enough, the people I know in New York are from Midland. and it's kind of funny. A good friend of mine, a college roommate and an Austin roommate, ended up living in, of course, I'm from Long Island, born in Manhattan, live here in Lubbock, and my buddy from Midland lives in Manhattan now. But of course, we have friends of friends, and I have on the phone with us Johnny Russo, who's we all know each other through politics. Johnny is a political consultant in New York City, and I wanted to give him a call this morning because it's the Thanksgiving holiday. I get a little sentimental for New York City this time of year, and I just wanted to hear a good, solid New York accent. Johnny, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Carl. You hear this New York accent?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Are you feeling any better? Johnny was artificially under the weather this morning. Apparently, he went out with my buddy last night. Johnny, did you go to McSorley's, my favorite New York City watering hole?
No, I think we went to literally every single other place. McSorley's.
You know, it was a school night last night. I don't know what y'all are thinking. Or did y'all have off today?
I don't know, Carl. Things are bad. It's raining here. Bill de Blasio is the mayor. There's protests. ISIS is out there, and Gwyneth Paltrow is still making movies. So
but Gwyneth Paltrow is still making movies. The worst actress that we've ever seen and that we know of. Tell me what's going on. I was going to have a Ferguson-less day today because I'm just kind of tired of it. But were there actually some marches or any riots in New York City last night?
Oh, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. They closed down 3 bridges because I wish I could curse because I would throw every 4-letter word at these protesters. They deserve it. They closed down 3 bridges. If I was driving a car on one of those bridges and there was protesters, I should legally be able to run them over, put in reverse, run them over again, get out of the car, slap a Hillary 2016 sticker on them, run them over again, and then go. They're just the worst. They're horrible. These liberal protesters. It's horrible.
Johnny, we're going to you are the next Republican nominee for mayor of New York City. So I didn't realize that all these. I'm kind of bored with the story already. You know, it's a very fast news cycle nowadays, and Ferguson is we get these protests and these riots every 20 years or so. You're a little younger than me. I've been through a few already, and I'm kind of bored of it already. But I always forget, in Lubbock, Texas, Johnny, we don't have riots. Everyone is armed. As a matter of fact, I'm the least armed guy I know. I'm carrying right now. People, they're in the cars, they're in the stores, every room of the house. And so I dare you to be a burglar or a rioter in Lubbock, Texas, But of course, New York City, it's pretty much illegal to own a weapon, and you're pretty much left to the nuances of a given riot of the day. Is that correct?
Yeah, I literally don't know anyone that has a gun. I wish I did. Well, if I did, I'd probably be in jail right now because I shoot like 20 people before noon every day. Just walking down First Avenue, I shoot 20 people before noon. I think.
Are you sure, Johnny? Are you sure they're not rioting because the Cowboys beat the Giants on Sunday?
Oh, jeez. I'm more disappointed because the Giants didn't cover the spread. That's what I'm more. I'm not disappointed they lost, but I lost money on that game, so it's very disappointed on that. But, no one has a gun here. No, unfortunately, no one has a gun.
That's a whole story for another day. I don't know anyone who doesn't own a weapon, a firearm of some sort here in Lubbock, Texas. Just show you the difference of culture from one place to another. But one of the things I wanted to get with you about was you have to understand, and I was telling people before the break, the Republican Party in Texas is going through its heyday right now. We are a force. There's pretty much essentially no Democratic Party in Texas anymore. It thrives in the urban areas a bit, Austin, Dallas proper, Houston proper, and a little bit along the valley. And even that we're starting to marginalize. A lot of the Hispanics along the McAllen, all the way up the Rio Grande Valley of Texas are voting Republican about 30 to at least 30%, if not 40 to 45% now. So we've got good relations with Mexican constituents. As a matter of fact, I've seen some polls about how our immigrant population, or I shouldn't really say that, some of these people have been here generations, our Mexican constituency and Mexican surnames voted for Romney about 49% here in West Texas. So this idea...
You have that Juan Castro, the Castro brothers, and the Democrats got big plans for the Castros. I mean, Castro might even be a VP for Hillary. I mean, they already put him in HUD, which is a stepping stone for something bigger. I mean, he's going to be a presidential candidate one day, if not VP. I mean, they got big plans for those Castro brothers.
Well, Johnny, I hope they have big plans for them in Washington, D.C., because they're pretty much edged out of everything else in Texas. They have zero chance, unless something unusual happens, if we get complacent, but they have pretty much zero chance of statewide office in Texas. The Democrat has not won statewide office, including we elect our Supreme Court justices, our courts of criminal appeals, statewide, all those offices, the comptroller's office, the governor, lieutenant governor. It's been 20 years since we've had a Democrat hold any of those offices. And so, but it's just the opposite in New York City, where we seem to be a non-starter. The Republican Party seems to be a non-starter we used to be competitive in New York State. And the Long Island vote and the upstate vote were pretty solidly Republican. We seem to have lost that over time. Do you see anything changing in the near future?
Well, this was a good cycle for us. We had Peter King got reelected by 68% of the vote.
Right.
Out on Long Island, in Suffolk County, where the Hamptons.
And everyone out there who doesn't know, Peter King is a very vocal, a real leader, congressman out of Long Island, and very big on national defense, and just very vocal, very very strong leader in the Republican leadership in Washington.
And we just elected a congressman, Lee Zeldin. I think it's the first district of New York, in Suffolk County in the Hamptons, where all that covers.
Right.
He beat Tim Bishop, who was there for like 20 years. And Lee Zeldin, Republican, he's a war veteran, a great candidate. But it's going to be tough to hold that seat in 16, particularly if Hillary runs. But we got the King reelected, we got Lee Zeldin coming in, and Michael Grimm, who on Staten Island, who's going to be in jail in 6 months probably. He won by like 70% of the vote on Staten Island. Staten Island is like the only borough in New York City.
God bless him.
That is solidly Republican.
Now, were you involved in any of these campaigns? Are you still actively working campaigns, or what are you doing now?
No, I'm holding out probably for the presidential campaign. I'll either be with Jeb or Christie, one of the two.
Right.
But I'm holding out for the presidentials. But it was a great cycle for us. Even in New York, it was a very good cycle.
Is it looking pretty certain that Chris Christie will be jumping into the presidential race?
Absolutely, 100%. He already has the big money behind him, at least a lot of big money. Ken Langone is the owner of Home Depot, I believe. He's solidly behind him. He's going to raise hundreds of millions of dollars for Christie. Christie has the money. He got when he was chairman of the RGA this cycle, he did very well, bringing in new governors in blue states. So, I mean, and it looks like the bridge, the
bridge
controversy is
kind
behind
of
him.
falling away.
Yeah, that's behind him. He's already preparing for a run. He'll probably announce, I would think, in January, February, March, and there's somewhere in those 3 months.
To those of you out there in the Lubbock area, I get a lot of criticism about the North, the Northeastern, some of the California Republicans. Look, y'all, you have to understand, these guys are fighting it out in a hotbed of, I wouldn't even call it liberalism anymore. It's become solid socialism and Marxism. And so you have to give someone like Chris Christie, who's fought so hard. I know sometimes he makes his bed with issues and ideas that we don't agree with. He's got a large Muslim constituency. He's got a big, anti-gun constituency, although I don't think he's come out solidly against guns.
No, he hasn't.
And so, and by the way, Johnny, when you get there, I was trying to get, and tell Grubb knows this, he's got the letter. I was trying to get Chris Christie here to Lubbock. Some of my executive committee was not thrilled with that because, they think he's so liberal. But I do want to see them have to deal with the juxtaposition of someone like Chris Christie here in Lubbock and see him work a crowd of Texas-type Republicans.
He can do that. Chris Christie is no liberal. He's a conservative, but he's a northeastern conservative, so he's probably more liberal. But he's definitely not a liberal. But when Chris Christie gets on a debate stage with any other candidate, Chris Christie will blow them away. Chris Christie is just balls to the wall, straight truth,
right.
Give it to you, Jersey talk. He will destroy any Democrat in any debate. He gets
right.
disrupted. Any press conference he gives, he's always disrupted by liberals in the crowd. He just knocks them down. You can see it on YouTube. But when Chris Christie's on the debate stage, he'll destroy anybody.
One of the things I don't get very starry-eyed about many politicians. I just never have. I enjoyed being involved in politics, but there's very few people that make me starry-eyed. One of those people who does is Rudy Giuliani. And those of you, if you've been to New York, if you remember visiting New York about 20 years ago, it became a cesspool. And within weeks, Rudy Giuliani turned that around. The squeegee guys, the homeless, getting the basic things that you expect from a government. If you're going to get any services from a government, you want law and order, you want a good running justice system, you want to back up the police. Because they're protecting your house and your neighborhoods. You want the homeless put where they need to be. You want the streets cleaned, and Rudy Giuliani did that. As a matter of fact, he took on the mob when he was a federal prosecutor. Okay?
Absolutely, he did, yeah.
And so this guy is tough as nails. This is a guy who, when terrorists flew planes in the World Trade Center and everyone was running the other way, and the only people running towards the World Trade Center to save people were firefighters, and God bless those policemen. Rudy Giuliani was the third leg of that stool, who was actually trapped for a while when those buildings fell, and he's the real deal. So these guys who were forged in fire, Rudy Giuliani, Chris Christie, I remember I really admired George Pataki for a while. These guys are forged in fire. They don't get to just spout Jesus and conservatism and Limbaugh and everyone loves them. It's not like being in Lubbock, folks. It's a tough hotbed. Rudy Giuliani was one of those impossibilities of getting elected in a place like New York City, which should have never happened, but he had sort of all the stars aligned. Mayor Dinkins was such a disaster that, and Rudy Giuliani was so, as a juxtaposition, Rudy Giuliani was so good at what he did that he actually got elected mayor. So, Johnny,
what happens is, what happens in New York City, crime gets so bad to a point when there's a liberal mayor, and we're primed for it right now with de Blasio. Crime gets so bad that we have to elect a Republican to clean up the situation, which is what happened with Giuliani.
Johnny, we are at a break. Hang on. You get to listen to some of our ads. This is Carl Tepper and Johnny Russo sitting in for Chad Hasty on the Chad Hasty Show. Carl Tepper and New Yorker Johnny Russo sitting in for the mighty voice of Chad Hasty on this start of the Thanksgiving holiday. Talking to Johnny about the politics in New York City, and you're wondering why, Carl, we're deep in the heart of the prairie of Texas. We've got cowboys and oil here. Why are we talking about this? Because I want you all to understand what a big, great country we have, how diverse it is. But we have this specter of this liberalism that's gotten, quite frankly, out of hand. When you watch Ferguson, when you see Charlie Rangel, by the way, Bill de Blasio was Charlie Rangel's campaign manager. When you see what's going on,
he was also Hillary Clinton's campaign manager.
Hillary Clinton, and when you see what's going on, and the difference of leadership between someone like a Giuliani or a Chris Christie versus a Bill de Blasio or David Dinkins. And so, Johnny, you were saying crime is already on an uptick in New York City.
Actually, it's a little down, but I mean that's not because of de Blasio. It's because of Bill Bratton, who was also police commissioner under Giuliani. Bratton did I forget the name of it, but he put in a policy that stopped everything from squeegee men to homeless people on the street. You stop it at like that level, and it doesn't escalate. And he's done a great job, Bratton. And unfortunately, last night or Monday night during the protest, Bratton got somebody threw paint on him, one of the liberal protesters, which was ridiculous, and it was on the front page of the New York Post. Braden is the reason. It's not because of de Blasio. Crime would be running rampant if it was just de Blasio making policy. It's Bill Braden.
So Bill Bratton's still using. For years, we talked about the broken windows theory, which is something Giuliani adopted. We enforce the little things.
Yes, that's broken windows,
littering and loitering and things like that. And it did. It kind of lowered the level of crime in New York City, whereas New York City became one of the lowest murder rates, one of the safest cities in America, the greatest city, one of the cleanest cities. I used to go, I hang out with Grubb myself, through Upper Manhattan, heck, all over Manhattan, and it was clean. It was like a European Munich type of clean.
But it's still safe. I've been living in Manhattan for the last 15 years. I have never been mugged. I have never witnessed a crime. I don't know anybody that's been a victim of a crime. It's still safe. And God knows I've walked home drunk from every neighborhood in this city in the last 15 years, and I've never had a problem. So it still is a safe city. It really is.
So there are some upticks in de Blasio. He's keeping maybe some of the broken windows theory of policing, but he's doing some things. I know I'm really annoyed. He wants to get rid of the all of you who have visited New York and Central Park, the horse and buggy carriages in Central Park, saying it's inhumane. Of course, the actor of all people, the actor Liam Neeson, was on the forefront. Of course, he's Irish, and loves the horse culture and all the Irish.
He's not going to get rid of that. He has to say that just to appease some of his left-wing base. But the horse is still there. I was on 57th Street yesterday, smell the horse poop. I guess I can't say the other word. But, it's still there. They're not going to get rid of that. He just has to say it.
Okay. Are there any other specters of what de Blasio's doing? Maybe something good, something bad. Of course, the New York City public schools chancellor was sending her kids to private school. You have just the weirdest things that happen up there. Is de Blasio doing anything good, or do you see the specter of worse things to come?
No, it's worse things to come. A matter of fact, this guy can't even get a CIA clearance for intelligence because of his involvement with the Sandinistas in the 80s. Yeah. He doesn't even have intelligence. The CIA doesn't think he's worthy enough to get our own intelligence. They can't even brief him. They have to brief Braden, and Braden has to go.
He's not trustworthy of a secret clearance. He assisted the Sandinistas back in the 80s when we were trying to fight communists down there, and he was helping the communists.
Yeah, and he's not going to evict Gwyneth Paltrow, which is a major faux pas on my part. We got to get Gwyneth Paltrow out of the city.
So, is she? Do you actually see her around a lot?
I've seen her out in the Hamptons. I'm one of those people that go out in the Hamptons during the summer, or those pretentious New Yorkers. I see her out there. I see Alec Baldwin out there, which is horrible.
Right.
I actually seen Alec Baldwin yell at a waitress because he didn't have enough spinach in his egg white omelet.
Well, you have a lot of celebrity sightings in New York City. I remember Darren Grubb once said, of course, the creme de la creme is Robert De Niro on a street corner, and he had to text me about that. Listen, I want to keep you on. I'm not done with you yet. I want to talk about New York State politics and maybe a little bit of New Jersey. Can you hold on at the bottom of the hour break? We've got a long one. We've got the bottom of the hour news and all that. Are you going to be able to hang on?
I will hang on.
All right, you hang on. You nurse your artificial under the weather, and we will get our bottom of the hour news, find out what's going on in Ferguson, I guess, and then talk to you on the backside. Is Carl Tepper and Johnny Russo sitting in for the mighty voice of Chad Hasty? That's better, Jody. That's what we want to hear. Carl Tepper and Johnny Russo sitting in for Chad Hasty. One half of us is way up north, up in Manhattan, New York City, the mighty Manhattan, home of so much of America's history. Johnny, I want to ask you about now. New York State. We used to be competitive. When I say we, I mean the Republican Party used to be competitive. In Albany, of course, George Pataki did a great job for years. What's happened? Do we ever have a chance of fighting back?
Yeah, I mean, the Senate is controlled by Republicans. The Assembly is hopeless. But, I ran Senate and Assembly seats before in Westchester County, which is all Democrat. But Cuomo won by doing nothing by like 60-something% of the vote. We'll probably never see a Republican governor again. We'll never see a Republican senator again. The only hope is basically congressmen. That's basically it. but the Senate is still controlled by Republicans.
What's happened to? We've talked about this before. The Republican Party is very based on faith-based. The platform, traditional marriage. We're a pro-life party. In the South, that's certainly not going to change. What happened to our good? The Roman Catholics were traditionally Democrat, and then of course some key issues kind of swung a lot of them over to the Republican side. Are we not seeing a big push from the Roman Catholic side, or is that sort of voter base falling away, or are the parishioners falling away from the Catholic Church? What's going on?
Well, listen, I'm Roman Catholic. I grew up Roman Catholic, and basically people in the Northeast who are Roman Catholic voted Democrat because of Kennedy, and a lot of them still do. But no, it's not an issue. I mean, it's those voices are few and far between. It's not an issue in Republican politics in the Northeast, particularly in New York. It's not, it's nothing. People don't run on religion or socially liberal issues here. It's basically, if Peter King runs, it's on autonomy and national security. That's basically it. That's what Republicans run on.
It's and that makes sense. Now, I find it interesting on Fox News now. New York State runs ads about tax-free zones for 10 years or what have you, and of course in Texas we laugh about that because the whole state's pretty much a tax-free zone. You're stuck with your property taxes. We have some economic development funds that we use, and a lot of us don't even like that. We just want low taxes for everybody all the time. Yep. And it's been successful for us. We're an economic powerhouse now. We're going to start, California is going to start eating our shoelaces soon. So our job growth, if it wasn't for Texas, the American unemployment rate would probably still be around 10%. So New York is finally coming to reality with that. Hey, business. Everybody can't work for the government. The business still matters, but you still have an incredible state income tax. You have a city income tax.
Everything is taxed. Air is taxed. The floor you walk on is taxed. Everything is taxed in the city. Everything. It's ridiculous. I love that Rick Perry came up to New York and tried to rub Cuomo's face in it by taking business away from New York, which he should, because we're taxed way too much. We should have the tax policy that Texas has.
And Johnny, we have for about 30 years now. J.C. Penney moved here. I think it was American Airlines moved here. We've got actually it's a really long list of companies that have relocated. I actually called Remington Arms. They have a firearms clip manufacturing in Utica. And after, of course, Sandy Hook, their firearms are just not popular in the Northeast. I tried to recruit Remington Arms, and Texas actually has been successful in getting Toyota. Actually, we've been more successful in stealing companies from California lately, and big companies. Toyota's U.S. headquarters, Toyota plant in San Antonio, and the list goes on and on. What is the long term? I mean, are people coming to the realization in New York again that you cannot? Everyone cannot work for the government. There has to be some private sector. We have to appreciate our companies, both large and small. Has there been any initiatives in Albany to turn it around?
No, none whatsoever. I mean, particularly in New York City. I mean, like I said before, no one I know owns a gun. I mean, you don't see it. I mean, literally no one. And maybe upstate people, take their Second Amendment and they have guns. But literally, no. I wish I could have a gun. It's like impossible to buy a gun or have one in New York City. I wouldn't even know where to find one. There's no gun shop. There's nothing. You couldn't do it. It has to be like black market, under the table, a shady thing if you wanted to get it. I wanted.
Hey, walk around your living room a little bit. I'm losing your signal just a bit, but. On that note, upstate New York used to be a big hunting business. Incredible. In Texas, our deer are pretty small compared to upstate New York, the Pennsylvania area, New Jersey. It used to be big hunting, men's men up there. As a matter of fact, some friends of the family used to send down some deer meat every year. Is that culture disappearing?
No, it's still prevalent up there. In New York State, upstate it is. But when people tend to think of New York, it's basically just the city. It's right. New York, it's Long Island. People from this neck of the woods and the island and Manhattan, no one ever goes upstate. No one goes farther north than Westchester County, which is a half hour. Right. No one goes more than half hour north. So when we're talking like New York State, it's almost like Alabama to people down here in the city. I mean, no one ever goes up there.
Yeah,
ever.
To everyone we're talking to here in Texas, it is that the state is divided between, it's Long Island, New York City, and then everything north is upstate. And now my parents, brought me up to believe that American history mattered and family vacations mattered. So it's a hassle driving through New York City, and that's why people don't go up there. But my parents always went out of their way to take we used to take trips to Boston, Niagara Falls, see some of the history down in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in the old State House. And so that's how New York State is cut up, and it's also been cut up politically. Again, Long Island and upstate were solidly Republican for many, many years. New York City was, of course, Democrat. And then, the city just started to kind of eat up the state, and the culture of the city started to eat up the state, including some of the culture in Buffalo, New York, and certainly up in Albany. When you have those state capitals, you tend to get the liberal cycle. They have a university up there, SUNY, Albany, and those sorts of things. So New York has slowly, along with the rest of the Northeast, gotten solidly Democratic. But we had some lights at the end of the tunnel. We did have, as we talked about earlier, we had Rudy Giuliani, George Pataki, and of course the latest has been Chris Christie, which they've done everything to try to destroy, and he keeps fighting back. And so, we are looking as a Republican Party. Of course, I'm focused on things in West Texas and a little bit statewide with the Republican Chairman's Association. But how do we turn it around in places like these big urban areas like the Northeast, California, the Rust Belt, and even our own urban areas like Dallas and Austin? So
you can't, basically. You have to have Democrats elected, and they have to screw up so bad where there's no other alternative but to elect a Republican. That's what happened when Rudy Giuliani got in. That's what happened when George Pataki got in. For the northeastern states, I mean, things have to get so bad under a Democrat administration that you have no other alternative to vote for the Republican. That's how we get in.
I'm trying to get you uplift me, Johnny, but that's really depressing to think that we've lost so much of our cultural values in our faith to the idea that they look to the government for everything.
Yeah, we elect, when things get so bad under a Democrat administration, we elect someone like Rudy Giuliani, who cleans up the problem, lowers crime, brings business in, lowers taxes, and he fixes everything. And then because everything's fixed, then we elect a Democrat because everything's good again. So, I mean, it's really a no-win situation for us. Because we have to wait for things to get so bad under the Democrat, elect the Republican cleans everything up, and then we elect the Democrat again.
Great. Johnny Russo, I appreciate you being on. I will call you offline later and tell Grubb I said hi. Tell him thank you. Thank him very much for getting you in the condition.
Darren said they should fire Coach Kingsbury and hire him. I don't know if that's...
All right. Hey, Johnny, have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you later. I appreciate you being with us.
Happy Thanksgiving, Texas. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Johnny. That was Johnny Russo, who is a very high-level political consultant in New York City. I didn't realize he was looking at running in the Chris Christie or the Jeb Bush campaign. All right, Carl Tepper sitting in for Chad Hasty on the Chad Hasty Show.